Welcome to another episode of Mental Wellness Insights, bringing sunlight to mental health. Today, we once again have our in-house psychologist, Josephine Mwoghogho, speaking to us about cultism and mental illness. Welcome, Josephine.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for being with us again today.
Thank you, Pamela, for this invitation. My name is Josephine Mwoghogho. I'm a practicing counseling psychologist and also an addiction counselor by profession. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, to start off, you will probably tell us what is cultism, or what is a cult.
Mm-hmm.
What is a cult?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, a cult is it's a group of people. This group of people, it's a formation of a group of people, and basically it's because they have a set of beliefs or values that they really believe in, and they always have a charismatic leader who is always on top of that cult. So that's really what a cult is. Yes.
Many times when we speak about cults, we only think about religious cults. Are there any other forms of cults apart from religion?
Apart from religious,
Yeah.
yes, they are. There are several other cults. For instance, you could have others for personal development. There are others which even are support groups, even political parties. There are some of them actually that also have that cult in nature. So it's not just religious groups. There are other forms of cults.
So what brings in the issue of cultism? For example, how would I know that a political grouping has become a cult?
The set of values, as I said, or beliefs, or even ideologies that they hold, you find that they're normally very extreme compared to what you believe in, or even basically what you know. So you see, already that's what calls it out to be a cult, because it's normally unique to that particular group or association that has been formed. So it is not something that is shared with anybody outside that particular grouping. So that's just what, and that's what they all form to. I mean, that's what they agree to. So that's isolation is what basically makes it what a cult. Now, cults also have leaders. That is also something different. And the fact that the kind of leaders that they have, these are people who are very authoritative in nature. So this is somebody who is always at the top. This is somebody you cannot challenge. This is somebody's authority you can't even challenge. So basically, they're the ones who set the rules of this group, and that's what basically again also makes it a cult. You'll also find with cults they're very exclusive in terms of their truth. So the truth they hold and the value, they will always tell you it's about ours is the only truth. The others are not truth. So it makes it very exclusive in nature, and they like isolating their members. So again, you'll actually know most cults, they isolate their members. They don't want you to interact with other people who are not part of that particular group. And most of the time, as I say, they're very extreme, either in their values, their beliefs, even their ideologies that they hold as a group. Yes.
So where is the borderline? Where does beliefs end and sickness, delusion start? Because maybe I'm just a well person. I'm just following the beliefs of the cult. But it reaches a point when I'm mentally imbalanced. How do we differentiate?
Me too. Most of the time we find with cults, there's a lot of indoctrination. Now, indoctrination, that means there's a lot of mind control, even just to make sure your behavior is also modified. Now, the fact that you're also dealing with the mind control, you find that even the kind of things they're exposed to, like for example, to just make sure that you're able to control these particular people you're holding in as in a cult, that can also affect their thought process. That can also affect their brain, their functioning and so on. Because you see, you are not even allowed to think anymore. That is, your thought pattern is affected, even your speech and association. So that means you are not even allowed to be critical anymore. So that can also affect your thoughts, And again, it can also lead to mental issues or illness, yeah? Because of course that what happens is that even the practices that they actually put through, the rehearsals that they have to repeat some once, you see, it even affects your normal thinking and your normal pattern of the way of doing things. Again, you find others out of this being exposed to such cults, others become very anxious, others could even become, and as a result can even lead to depression. So it depends really, and in fact they can affect each other whichever way. You find somebody was well, as you're saying, but they get into this cult, and you realize that the beliefs you're being exposed to, the values, they don't even resonate with your own beliefs as a person. So of course there's always a conflict between what I'm forced to do and what I believe in. So as a result, that can easily lead to what? To a mental issue or a mental illness. There are others who find themselves in it because they already had an issue in the first place, either out of anxiety or extreme, very severe depression, or even self-esteem issues. So you find that this particular group that was so willing to embrace you and take you on board, you as a result you find yourself as a victim in a particular cult. So you find it's both ways. Somebody can be a victim, not knowing.
Now, these cult leaders, are they fine or are they suffering from mental issues?
Majority of them are psychopaths. When you say psychopath, they actually have, they're not stable mentally. Again, some others actually have personality challenges or issues. Most of them you find they either have a very narcissistic kind of a personality disorder, others very paranoia. So really, in terms of their functioning of the brain, we cannot really say they are really very stable. Yes.
Okay. What prompts people to join cults?
Interesting enough, nobody wakes up and they decide, I'm going to join a cult. You find others are either born into it. That means I am in a family whereby my parents are already in a cult. So you find yourself, you're already born in a cult. Others are forced to join cults. That means they're forced to join cults. Others are manipulated to join cults. So there are many reasons why people join cults. But most of the time you find that, and especially if you find yourself in a new area or a new environment, and you find cults are very fast in terms of how they recruit their members. Because it's through a friend, a relative, a co-worker, somebody you'll not even say no to. So you'll find that by the time I tell you, hey Pamela, come, let's go to this group, let's go for this fellowship, it's very hard to say no, because you know me, you trust me. So you find that's how they get their members on board. So even for you to realize that, hey, this could actually be a cult I'm joining to, even the way you're brought on board, you see, it's so you find most of them, they join even without knowing they will actually join a cult. Others is because of the acceptance and the love you receive on the other side also. Because they're very willing to embrace you, very willing to welcome you. And so of course they will always give you that false assumption or false belief that this is where you're most welcome, this is where you're most accepted, vis-a-vis outside there, your family, for instance, even the government. This is where you're most safe with us. So you can see there are many, many reasons we find people find themselves in those situations. Others, maybe they're also having challenges in terms of, maybe I've just had a challenge in terms of my workplace, financial issues, I've just lost a job. Who is this first person probably who actually opens up their arms? And you'll find yourself having land in such a scenario because somebody is willing to help you, somebody is willing to support you through that challenge, and unfortunately you can actually end up being the one finding yourself in a cult. So there are many, many reasons or cases whereby people actually do join, majority are not even aware they are cults, yes.
So can I join a cult as a stable person and end up living there as a mentally
sick person? Yes, it's very possible.
What would...
It's very possible because you can imagine if I told, like for instance, a religious cult. I just tell you, hey, I've come across this religious group and the churches are very good one, the pastors so on. We fellowship together, you see. Chances are very high, I'll recruit you on board. So you'll come in maybe to come and join one of us in one of the services. But now you realize that probably with time, by the time you get to realize, hey, this is not where I should be, you've gotten to a place whereby you cannot even challenge the thoughts and some of the activities that they're actually engaging in. In fact, you find like you are mostly the odd one out. So what happens? Most of them you find they will still be manipulated to continue doing what they're being asked to do, as much as probably it doesn't agree with your own personal values. But again, what happens is that when somebody is very well and they're very fine, because initially when they were going in there, they were not going to join because they were sick. They were attending a service. They were attending a religious group like any other person. And of course, in life, people look for, there are many reasons. I could be looking for answers in life. And you'll find that this is where the religious cults at times are the ones who pose like they have the solutions or the answers to the life that you're looking out for. So yes, so even as you go in and you're well, the fact that you're taken through this vigorous process of indoctrination, mind control, it can actually start affecting even your thought pattern, as I said. Because you find there's a lot of, they really do a lot of what we call brainwashing, if I would put that word, which affects even your thought pattern. You're forced to repeat some phrases. So slowly by slowly, that can start affecting your what? Your mental, your brain function. Yes, so it is possible to find yourself there.
What is it that these leaders use to entice people? Because the initial thought was that those who join a cult maybe are people who have challenges, they want to go to be sorted out and so on, or they are uneducated. But we find these days cults are joined even with the most educated, even with the people with the richest, they still join cults. What do these leaders use to entice people to join?
One, they can actually use behavior modification. They can work around modifying your behavior. So that means when they share with you their set of values and beliefs, they will just they will pose it like it's us versus them. So what we are telling you, what we are sharing with you is the mere truth vis-a-vis what you are hearing out there. Because most of the time you hear that even when they go back to where they're coming from, people will be telling them the group you have joined is a cult. But remember, on the other side, what they're instilling in your at the back of your mind is that it's us versus them. So of course you tend to believe them and not us, the others. These ones are not for us. Okay. Others, they use what you call it's almost like indoctrination, fear. So if you've already joined us and you realize, hey, I'm in the wrong place. So they will instill fear in you that if you leave, something wrong could happen to you. If you leave, there could be an attack. It's even shameful for you to leave. So what do you prefer? You prefer to stay on. Others is because, and at times, especially if you're joining in, probably you really needed support. And there was a form of dependency. And there's no family support on this other end. You're rather safe here than where you don't have what? The support. So really, you'll find yourself, there are many reasons. But these leaders, that's what they will use. They will always show you this place is there's comfort, it is safe than where you're coming from. Yes.
Now this brings us to some very important thing. A person knowing their values. Because I believe if you know yourself and you know your values, you are not easily manipulated. Can you talk to us a little bit in detail about knowing yourself and knowing your values? Yeah.
It's more self-awareness. Because when I know who I am, I know what I believe in, I know what I stand for, I know my principles in life, what guides me, then of course that forms, you have a good foundation. And really for somebody else to come and erode that away, it might not be so easy. You have something to compare with. But you can imagine when I don't have that, I don't have a set of values from my own personal belief system, not even principles that guide me all across my life, then I have nothing to compare with, even when somebody comes on board to bring in their own. So self-awareness is very, very important because it's just knowing who I am, what I stand for, and so on. So that can also be an issue. But somebody was already firm in that area, then it might not be that easy for them to join a cult, unless now you are coerced to do it, unless you're manipulated really again to do it. But now you have that awareness, you have that sense of judgment to know, hey, this does not resonate with what I stand for. So again, it's very important because that's where most people really find themselves to be victims. Because really, I have nothing really to stand for. So anything that comes will sweep me away. And again, I also want to feel I belong. So I will embrace what is available for me at that particular point. So this group of people, this is what they stand for. I'll mimic that behavior just to feel accepted and feeling that I belong to that particular group. Yes.
What makes a person be aware of who they are? And when you talk about being aware of who you are, exactly what does it mean? Because I am Pamela, I'm aware I'm Pamela.
It's beyond that too. It's about knowing what are your strengths as a person. Okay? Could there be any weaknesses? We want to call them opportunities. Because if I know, for example, I can easily be convinced, I can easily be swayed away, I can easily be manipulated. That is something I'm already aware of. So I'll always be conscious about it. So it's very important to really know what it is that I can do, what I cannot go to do. Because again, that helps you to know when to seek for support and when to seek for help. But again, if you're not aware about that, then really in terms of even remember we talked about wellness. It's the abilities that you have as a person, the strengths you have as a person. If you are not aware about that, it becomes difficult to function. It becomes difficult to be somebody who can actually be able to contribute anything of value out there. So knowing who you are is very, very important. Yeah, because you can actually be able to draw a line, and a boundary to know this one I can't cross, this I can actually do.
Self-awareness, where do we learn?
Okay.
To be aware of, yeah.
That's a good question, Pamela. Normally what happens, and I think earlier on when I talked about dysfunctional families, when we're talking about should I always go to a counselor, the perception has always been I'll go look for a counselor when I'm sick. But we say that even for us, we normally go for medical checkup to see a doctor, not because necessarily you're unwell. So even as you go for your own having a counselor, just get him, because counselors, they do a lot. It's not just therapy. They can also educate you. They can sensitize you on things like what we're talking about. So there's a lot, even the materials out there, there are books that are also available, recommended books that you can also learn about this. So I think it's about an individual reading more widely, and of course seeking help where you can. Mentorship is also encouraged, and coaching with somebody who's already gone ahead of you. Yes, so I believe information is there if you actually sought for it. Yes.
I'm asking this because at the moment, even in our schools, and especially boarding schools, there's a lot of, I believe children are getting into cars from there. I believe there's a lot of swaying of children to different issues in schools. Why is it happening, especially in secondary schools? Is there some gap in our education system, or is there some gap in our the family setup? Why is it that our children are now easily being swayed to get into things that could harm them?
When children are growing, I remember they're under the care of their parents, either parents or caregivers. Now, part of bringing up a child, we always say train them. Training involves many things. It's not just about educating him, but even life skills. Okay, because this child needs to know how to solve problems, make decisions, even as they grow up. Now, all this will be based on the family values, because that's what they'll actually embrace when they're growing up. What do we stand for as a family? And also the challenges you realize when you're dealing with the young people later on as in teenagers, when you ask them really what do you stand for as a family? If that was not embedded in this child when they were growing up, as a family we stand for this, we believe in God, for instance. This is what we believe in, this is what we stand for. Then really they have nothing to stand on even as they grow up. So this child who now comes to a different environment, a school setting, remember now they're interacting with the wider society. And they will find themselves through that interaction and socialization, they'll borrow from others, their friends and so on, coming from different backgrounds too. Okay? So if I have nothing, as I said earlier, to benchmark with what I have believed in, what I have grown up being taught, then it becomes very easy for that child to be swayed away. But somebody who has a solid background, and maybe even to give examples of the Muslims, you find those ones that they go through madrasa when they're very young. So to convert that boy or girl might be quite difficult, yes, vis-a-vis these other religions, because we really don't take time to teach to our children really what we believe in as a family, what we value, what are our principles. So that now that will help that child grow up. Later on when they become teenagers and so on, now they can move from family values and beliefs and talk about my personal values, my personal beliefs. But where is the foundation coming from? The family. Yes.
Yeah.
So I tend to feel there's a gap right from the parenting. But again, even in our learning institutions, I know there's a lot we're trying to do with the current system of education. But again, we also need to do what we probably also need to beef it up, because life skills are also very important. Where there are gaps, need assessment can be done, then that will bridge that gap to be able to show that that child, they grow wholesome at the end of the day. Yes.
Under normal circumstance, how would I detect that somebody is likely joining a cult?
Most of the time, the interest in that, because most of the time they don't even know it's a cult, so they'll talk about it. I went to a fellowship this afternoon. I went to a group this afternoon. You need to meet these people. They're very loving. They'll talk well about this group. But some of the things you start hearing is some of the practices or the ideologies that are behind this group. Like now, for instance, you were to talk about Mackenzie. Leave your home, come to the bush, or come to a secluded place. Already that is already should ring a bell. Hey, there's something wrong here. There's nothing wrong with religious groups, but the fact that when you start isolating me, when you start controlling my thought pattern, what I think, what I speak, my association, already that's a red flag. Okay? Because we are not saying being religious or spiritual is wrong, but it's just that being extreme in that area, again, those are the kind of questions you want, where they tell you associate more with us and not the family. That shouldn't be the case. So there are those small practices or ideologies that probably you'll find they don't resonate with the family or the society, what we know. That could be a red flag already, just to let you know, hey, this could actually be a cult.
Why are there cults? What is the aim? What do they achieve? Yeah.
You know, cults is an association, as I say, it's a group of affirmation of a group. But again, the leader who is heading this particular cult has the many reasons why they were formed. Most of them, they're driven by power, money, because there's always a reward system for them. So what am I getting out of this group? As a leader, I have power. I have control over this entire group. At times, it's because there are rewards that are forthcoming. For instance, like what is happening within our country, Shakahola, these people are giving up all they had just to be able to join this cult. So of course there are financial gains, there could be, and many other gains which maybe they're not really monetary. So this is what really keeps people, the cults going. Again, you find religious cults, they have a way of giving meaning to life, even if it's a false way. So those questions that you find are not answered anywhere, they will easily be answered in these cults. So you'll find that if there's any gap, especially within the society, in terms of people are yearning or looking out for solutions and things like this in life, then you find the cult will come on board just to answer their issues and to meet their needs in life. Yeah, so there are many reasons.
So these people are just identifying a gap.
Yes, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for the leader. Like, to give you the example of the Shakahola, when you look back, when you hear the history, he was in a church, but the owner, the founder of that church died. So automatically there's a gap. Where will these members go to? So somebody arose and formed what? And formed a church, which you understand later on became what? A cult.
Now that brings me to another question. What is happening in churches that is driving away people to join cults? The mainstream churches, what could they do?
There's a lot of deception, because remember, when you talk about indoctrination, it can either be spiritual, either political, or even at times theological. You find there's a lot of deception. And that's what most cults use. And you see, deception, that means I'm not even aware about it. Somebody else is just taking control or taking advantage of the entire group. So because of that deception, and you find that members in a church probably are not grounded, as I said. Because if you are grounded in your religious, whether it's a doctrine or spirituality, then it will not be easy to be swayed away. But when you are enticed or somebody's trying to deceive you. But when that is not there, then it's very easily again to be swept away. So I think it's just about the members. If you're in a religious organization or you're a spiritual, then I think at the end of the day is just to be grounded in what you believe in and what you hold on truly in life and what you value. Otherwise, if you don't do that, somebody else will introduce their own. This could be a cult, and you find yourself in the wrong place.
Life now is more about materialism. Is this also contributing to the emergence of cults? Because again, it is only recently that cultism is really taking root. It hasn't been there a lot, although maybe it was there, but on the ground.
And that is mostly the religious cults.
Yeah, religious
cults. Yeah. And you find most of these leaders, they have those unique, I don't want to call them a power, but abilities. You find others, they can prophesy, others can deliver, others can carry out miracles. So you see, these things is basically what they will use to do, or to draw their members into their what? Into their cult. And remember, this is what people are looking out for in the society. They're looking for meaning in life, solution to their challenges, and the issues that they are going through. So when they think there's a solution, not asking themselves whether it's the right way, they find themselves already in a cult. Yes.
Yeah. You as psychologists, what are you people doing to educate the society?
Okay. You realize, okay, it's actually when you talk about mental health and cultism, then now that's where now a bit of psychology does come in. But initially it was almost taken like it's just a religious issue across board. But now we are realizing, people are actually realizing, hey, it also affects your what? Your mental health, vis-a-vis the spiritual aspect. Because remember we said, me being well, it's not just a spiritual dimension of it, even the emotional. Just being able to know, control my emotions. The financial bit, it's a whole, it's a whole different dimensions apart from spiritual. Occupation, are you satisfied in what you do, for example? Yeah, environmental. There are many other dimensions and looking at what being healthy. So I think the focus initially, even for if we call the churches or the religious organization, was not there as such when it comes to mental issues. They were not seeing how even the members could find themselves in this situation. But now people are realizing that, hey, it's a disease. Actually, it can happen to anybody else. It's not a curse as such. And that's the whole idea of what we're trying to do now. It's just to educate our members. Demystify this whole idea of mental health. And because everybody needs to understand what it is. And knowing that it's not a death sentence. Somebody can actually be helped. And we don't always have to wait to manage it. There's also what preventive science, and how you can actually be able to pick that from your family members and their loved ones, just to make sure you avoid them getting to that particular state. Yes.
And yes, you talk about family members. How can I help a person who probably joined a cult and is now coming out of it? How is the family supposed to handle this person? Because a lot of times, again, we stigmatize, we reject. How are we supposed to ideally deal with this person?
First of all, you realize even getting out of that cult is very exhausting for this person, a lot of pressure, because already they've found themselves in a space where they didn't want to be in the first place. Many of them, again, they have already discovered they're not in touch with their family members. That contact is not there. So it's a struggle, even how to get out of that particular cult, because you really need support, somebody who can support you, to hold your hand, to make sure you do what? You get out of that particular cult. Others have already formed a level of dependency. So it's almost like this cult is the one that takes care of me. I really have nothing. You can imagine now the ones who at the Shakahola place. I have given out everything I had. I've burnt everything, all my documents. So really, I'm under the mercies of this leader. So that form of dependency almost lives in a place whereby you have no alternative but to stay on there. But for family members, you can imagine if you kept that close contact. I'm imagining the ones who left home to go to the forest. If they were in contact with the family members, then I'll surely be able to reach out and say, hey, I think I'm in the wrong place. I'm in trouble. I need help.
The Bible, in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 15, says, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. Thank you for watching part 1 of this very informative conversation. Watch out for part 2 next Monday. Please remember to subscribe and share. God bless.